Welcome to section 3 of Engage. Oop, should I say? Let's stop that. Hang on. Welcome to section 3. Welcome to section 3 of Convert. So sell, and track. Sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? We sell a lot and we track a lot. But you'd be amazed by how many people don't do either, but certainly don't do the second one. It's really important that you track what's going on your website. One of the greatest things about marketing online is the fact that you can track pretty well anything. It means you can see where people are coming from, where they're going to, what they're doing, what they're looking at, what they're clicking on, which page converts better than another page, which pages are ranking in the search engines, which pages aren't. There's so much information you can set up to track things, even to the point where you can set up a funnel with a conversion. So they've got to get to the thank you page after filling out a form. But then you can set the steps in between. You can track, okay, well, they came to my homepage, they then went to my contact page, and then they filled in the form. Or you can see out of 100 people, 50 went to the contact page but didn't fill in the form, and 50 did fill in the form. So you can see all sorts of things depending on what you set up. And the best way to start that is by using Google Analytics. Why? Well, because it's free. It links together with everything else that's Google, and it keeps all your data together. Now, you might say, well, I don't particularly like Google, and that's fine, but this is free and it gives you everything you need. So signing up for Google Analytics is easy. If you don't have a Gmail account, you need to create one, and then you sign up for an analytics account using the same Gmail account. So everything is tied together under one login. And that you can have Google Analytics, Google AdWords, Google AdSense, YouTube, all of those are on the one Gmail account. So my suggestion is for your business that you actually set up one for your business and you use it for everything to do with that business. Don't use a personal one, because then if your business grows and you want someone else to manage it, suddenly they're in your email, they're everywhere. It's a real pain. And they're getting into areas you don't necessarily want them to get into. So sign up for Gmail and get things going. So once you sign up and you add your website to analytics, you'll see lots of data. So in this case, I've looked at the last 7 days for lessonplans.com.au, which is one of my old sites, and you can see there's been a lot of traffic drop here. Now, the reason being is that when this was done, it was a time of year where traffic drops off. It's not really an issue for me because the traffic on that website goes in cycles, and sometimes it's hundreds of visitors a day and sometimes it's tens of visitors a day. So, it bounces around. And the key element here, is that I can see that over the last 7 days, so as soon as I log into analytics, I can see over the last 7 days that there was 32 people came to the website, which is 44% down on the previous week. So the previous week there was roughly 60 visitors, and the bounce rate is 21%. So that means that roughly 80% of people actually stayed and looked at more than one page. Now, average session duration is 44 seconds, so about a minute. Now that's quite short, and that can grow depending on the time of year out to several minutes. But the key element is that on the left-hand side, you can see you've got a menu there. And you've got real time, which means you can actually see who's on your site, where they are right now live. And you can see that in the blue column on the right there. There's one active user. And they're on language2.htm, that page. Then have a section for audience. And in audience, you can find out all about the people visiting your site. Where they are, what they're using, what browser they're using. Are they on a phone or a desktop? All sorts of demographic information about the audience and where they come from. The next section is acquisition, and acquisition is a key one. If we're trying to rank a website and get more traffic, acquisition tells us where our visitors are coming from. So we can see so many visitors came from Google, So many visitors came from a different website, so a link. So many visitors from YouTube or Facebook. All that information is in under acquisition. And things like AdWords or Google Ads, as they're called now, also show up in this section. So all your data can be pulled in underneath this dashboard. Behavior is one of my favorite sections because it shows all the information about what they're doing within your site. Which pages are they landing on first? So what's the first page they're entering the site? When they land on that page, where do they go? What other pages do they look at? What's my top 5 most popular pages? All that sort of information, the behavior, goes in that section. And then last but not least is conversions. And you can set some goals here. So I gave the example of a thank you page. I always recommend if you have a contact form, you land people on a thank you page so you can track the conversions. Otherwise, you don't know how many people went to the contact page but didn't actually fill out the form. And if you're using paid advertising, you can track that actual click right through. So conversions allows you to set up goals. I want to see how many people bought something and landed on my thank you for buying page. Okay, all those sorts of things can be set up in there. Now, when you dig down a bit, this here obviously is our acquisition section, and we can see the traffic there at the top. It spikes at certain times of the year, and you can see that's from 2017 through 2018. You can see in that time there was 2,118 visitors to the site. There was 1,200 were referrals, so they came from other websites. 723 were direct, so they just typed in lessonplans.com.au, and 176 came from the search engines, and 7 came from social sources like Facebook or Twitter. And if you have a look at the different columns that we have there, we've got acquisition, behavior, and conversions. So acquisition tells me users, new users, and sessions. So new users is people who have never been there before or within 90 days roughly, and sessions is the number of sessions they had. So did they go there once and come back again? So they're not a new user, so they came once and they came again. The next section is behavior, the bounce rate. So bounce rate basically is they look at one page and then they leave. The best way, bounce rate works on timing more than anything, and you can learn a lot about bounce rate. So you've got average session duration, it says 1 minute. So we can see there, people who come from referrals spend an average of 1 minute 31 on the website. People who come from organic search spend an average of 1 minute 21. People who come from social spend about 35 seconds. It's not a 100% accurate measure because we've got some where people came for 0 seconds and yet we know they've been on the site. So the tracking isn't perfect, but it gives you some sort of idea about what's going on. Now, ultimate Google, there's goals set there. In this case, I haven't set any goals in this one. You can just see that there's goal columns there. So lots of things that you can see, and each one of those can be drilled down. So if you click on referral, they can see what sites are actually referring traffic to the website. Now, bounce rates, as I said, really important. You want to try and get your bounce rates down as low as possible. So, in this case for these pages, the average bounce rate for the home page is 5%. So my home page is next to number 1. That's just the slash by itself. That's always the home page. And 5% bounce rate is awesome because it's not uncommon to see 80% bounce rates on some business websites. What you can learn from bounce rate more than anything else is that bounce rate tells you that the visitors you're getting are looking for what you're selling or servicing. So if, for example, you're getting a really high bounce rate, then you're not showing up in the right places, you're getting the wrong sort of traffic, or you're advertising to the wrong sort of people. So, you're running ads, and if you're getting a really high bounce rate, then your ads are the wrong ads for the audience you're attracting. You need to get more targeted. But you can see in this case, you've got, slash, then the next page, slash's got 129 page views, then 66, then 28, and then 15, and then 12, 11 on my contact page. So there's information there for me that tells me what the most popular pages are in order, and you can learn a lot from that. Okay, so this is 2 different sites. In this case, one site you'll see has a 5% bounce rate. The second site, the average bounce rate, the first one 6.15 average bounce rate. The second site has an average bounce rate of 1.61, which is much lower. So it's interesting, you can see the difference between two different sites. So you can learn so much by reading this. Most people don't bother to even look. How do we improve bounce rates? We make sure that the content is good quality and it's keeping people there. So we talk about improving the pages on your website so that they sell and so that they contain good quality content. Well, good quality content, good targeted content keeps bounce rates down. So average time on page, you can see in this case 25 seconds, 18 seconds. One of the key things I like to look at is and that is that it's not necessarily as fast as what you think it is. So for example, if you were to open a countdown timer and on your phone and time how long 1.5 minutes is, so press go and then go to your website and click on a couple of pages and read something, you'd be really surprised how long 1.5 minutes is. Go back and try even 30 seconds after that, and you'll still get through a lot of your website. So because we're used to using the web now, we can move relatively quickly through to what we're after. You may be surprised at what can be achieved in a relatively short time. Now, not necessarily a buying decision, but you'd be surprised how much of a website you can consume. So here's an example. These are the pages from lessonplans.com.au. You can see the first one, homepage, then language 2, then computer lessons, 60 integrated computer plans, 25 successful Microsoft Word projects, computer lesson plans, then thematic mini beasts, thematic space. Okay. Now the key you look at here is those ones. 60 computer lesson plans is a book, 25 is a book. Computer lesson plans by itself is actually the page above those books. So people go to that page and then they click on the books to find out more. Thematic lessons, mini beasts and space are both books. So I can see that I've had 1,600 people come into the homepage, and 45 people went to that book, 32 to another book, 26 to that book, 18 to that book. And I can see, okay, well, 60 integrated computer lesson plans is still quite a popular book. But yeah, there's still people, even now, so that book, Mini Beasts, was written over 10 years ago. There's still people looking for lesson plans on mini beasts and space to use in a primary school classroom. So that's valuable information to me, because I can now go back and say, okay, well, that book was written a few years ago. I really need to go back and review that book and maybe do a review of it and rewrite certain sections of it. Or it may be that I can do a second book. I can do, The Moon, which is in the same space theme. And mini beasts, I might do one on lizards or reptiles. They're still small animals like mini beasts, but more specific. So there's a lot to be said for data when you go and look at what people are doing on your website. As I said, most people never do this, and yet this is where you make money. This is how I learnt to write the right books. I actually used to have, look at what pages people went to, and then I'd write another book along that line, or I'd write a couple of lessons along that line and add them to the website. And if people started going to those lessons, I would go, okay, well, a couple of people in those lessons, maybe I can write a book about those lessons. And hence, the first book was space, and then mini beasts, and then there's a third one in that thematic series as well. So, take a few minutes, at least once a month, to dig through the data in your analytics. But first things first, make sure you've installed analytics on your website. So when you sign up for analytics, they'll give you a little piece of code you've got to put on your website. Talk to your webmaster so they can put it in. It's very, very simple. It's a UA number, so it's UA dash and a number. Okay. Now, the second thing, we have analytics. We have a thing called Webmaster Tools, or Search Console, as it's more commonly known now. Search Console gives us some specialized information. We use the same Google account to sign up for it, but it gives us more information about what's happening on the search engine. So, for example, we have clicks and impressions, click-through ratios, and positions. Now, people are kind of like, what's impressions? Well, an impression means that your website came up in the Google search for a particular term. It doesn't mean you're in first place. You can be in the top 100 and still comes up as an impression. So I can see here, this site, which was lesson plans, had 20 clicks it showed up 407 times. So the average click-through rate was 4.91%. So 5% of people click through. And the average position in that search engine, so not all pages, but across all the pages, so one page might have been in position 1 and one page might have been in position 50, the average position was 22.8. Now we can see down the bottom there, query. So that's something someone typed to come to, make my website show up. So lesson plan for computer teachers. I got 30 impressions, no clicks, and I'm in position 6.4. Now, that's really interesting from my perspective. I look at that and I go, okay, so I'm in position 6.4. So I'm on page 1 of Google, worldwide, for lesson plans for teachers. And I'm in 6.4, so I'm, not that far from the first position. And yet I've had no clicks for that out of 30 times I've shown up. So it tells me people who are searching for that are not going down to position 6 or 7 to click a link. Now that's powerful information. That tells me that I have to be high. I have to work on my rankings. I need to get myself up in the search engines to make sure that I do get clicked. So as I said, this is Search Console. Funny when you look at it and actually realize what it's saying, you're kind of like, wow, 6.4, no clicks. Okay, well, I guess it's just not high enough. Another thing Search Console does is it scans your site and tells you where there's problems in your SEO and HTML. So in this case, I can see I have 19 duplicate meta descriptions. That means the same meta description on 19 different pages. And I have 16 duplicate title tags. So what that does, by Google telling me that, I can now go back, click on that, it'll actually bring me up a list. So you can see it's purple where I've clicked on it. I can now go back to those pages and go in and write a description for each one of those. Because I don't want anyone to have a duplicate meta description tag or a meta title, as we know from when we covered SEO. But Search Console will tell me this. It's scanning, it brings me back lots of information. So it's really, really useful. Now, one of the things that you can do here that's really important is put in a sitemap. So using a plugin, if you've got a WordPress site, you can use Yoast or you can use All-in-One SEO. I prefer All-in-One SEO. You can make a sitemap and then you submit the sitemap here and Google will go through and index all the pages in the sitemap, which means you can guarantee your site's going to be indexed by Google. It doesn't guarantee any rankings, but it does guarantee that you're going to be in the index. And then you can work on your SEO to improve your rankings. The other thing is too, if you have a problem where you get hacked, and I've had this happen to clients, in fact I had one recently where their site was hacked, it got some malware on there, Google Search Console will tell you you have malware or bring up a big red warning. And it'll tell you where the problem is and what it is, so you can go and fix it. And what happens in between is they actually will block your site from any traffic. They bring up a big red warning on the search engine saying this site is not safe. If you don't have Google Search Console and you get a virus and you get that message, you have no way to get back into the index when you've fixed yourself. You've just got to wait. If you have Google Search Console, there will be a link that you can click that says, I fixed this problem, and you list what you did and you submit it. And literally within 24 hours, the Search Console will check the site. And if the problem's gone, they will open up your site again to traffic. Now, this has been a lifesaver for 3 or 4 clients over the last year. A lot of sites getting hacked because of bad passwords, etc. So take the time to actually, do this. So load up your analytics and review your current results for the last 30 days and stretch back 1 year and look for patterns in your data, okay? Go in, have a read, have a dig around, find out what's going on in your website because it's super, super important. So to review, get a Gmail account if you don't have it already. Make sure that you sign up for analytics and Search Console, submit your sitemap, and go in and dig around your data on a monthly basis. Now that brings us to the end of Convert. And next you'll be moving into Educate.